Okay, let's dive straight in. Some pretty big football news breaking, feels like. Reports are flying about a major transfer.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the source material here. Seems pretty solid.
We do. And we're talking Matheus Cunha, aren't we? From Wolves heading to Manchester United.
That's the one. Got the recent reports, the analysis you sent over. Looks like it lays out the details pretty clearly.
Yeah, so our mission here for this deep dive is basically to unpack all that. Use these sources to really get a grip on what's gone down.
Right. We need to nail down the agreement specifics, the money side for both clubs.
What the player thinks, according to these reports.
Exactly. And then, crucially, what does it look like on paper, just based on the info we actually have in front of us?
Perfect. So first things first, let's confirm the main point. Manchester United have triggered Cunha's release clause at Wolves.
Yes, that seems definite based on the reports. Clause triggered.
And the figure is quite specific, isn't it?
Yeah, 62.5 million. That's the number being reported consistently.
Okay, 62.5 million. But the payment, that's where it got interesting initially, right? How United wanted to pay.
Right. So the reports, they suggest United first went to Wolves, yeah,
Yeah.
and proposed paying that 62.5 million
Yeah.
over 5 installments.
5. That feels like quite a spread for a release clause.
Yeah.
What did Wolves make of that? What does the analysis say?
Well, according to the analysis, Wolves' reaction was, let's say, pretty firm. They apparently pointed straight back to the player's new contract.
The one he signed in January.
That's the one. And they basically said the payment terms were already set out in black and white, as the source puts it. Meaning 3 installments, spread over 2 years. That was the deal already agreed in the contract.
Okay, so Wolves essentially said, sorry, the terms are fixed. How did United respond then? Did they try and argue it?
No, interestingly, the reports suggest United went back, maybe had a quick internal chat, and then told Wolves, okay, fine. They accepted the 3 installment structure pretty quickly after that initial pushback.
Accepting that fast after trying for 5. It suggests maybe they knew they didn't have much leverage once the clause was hit. Or perhaps, as the analysis notes, they just really don't want to waste any time.
Could be a bit of both. They seem keen to get this done. Pushing ahead is the phrase used.
Which leads to the next stage then.
Yeah, Wolves have apparently given the green light, permission for United to talk to Cunha directly, sort out personal terms, and get the medical done.
So it really just hinges on those final steps now, assuming no surprises.
Seems that way. Player agreement and medical pass, and it should be official.
Right. Let's pivot to Manchester United's finances then, because the analysis we have definitely flags this up. Wanting 5 installments, one report flat out says it suggests money is a bit of an issue.
Yeah, and you can't ignore the context. They're not going to be in Europe next season at all.
Which means missing out on a huge amount of cash. The Champions League income alone, reports talk about figures potentially around 100 million, that kind of ballpark.
Exactly. So losing that kind of revenue stream and then immediately spending 62.5 million even on a release clause. Well, it makes you ask the question the analysis raises. Where's the money coming from?
It does. So what's the answer provided in the material? How are they squaring this?
The explanation seems to be the structure. Yes, it's a big number, 62.5 million. But it's not paid up front. It's those 3 installments.
Roughly 21 million each over 2 years.
That's right. And the thinking is, for a club the size of Manchester United, even with those financial pressures, paying 21 million 3 times over 2 years is, well, the source describes it as affordable, manageable.
And there's the wider picture too, isn't there? The profitability and sustainability rules, PSR, financial fair play, essentially.
Like all clubs, they're navigating those rules. Spreading payments like this definitely helps manage the impact on the books within those PSR limits.
Plus, the reports mention players will be leaving Old Trafford this summer. That obviously helps balance things financially.
Yeah, outgoing fees and wages off the books are part of the equation. But, and this is a really important point raised in the analysis, Cunha apparently won't be the only signing.
So more spending planned.
Seems so. But here's the kicker. According to the analysis, those other signings, they really have to work. They have to hit the ground running.
Because
the general feeling, cited in the reports from many across football, is that United's recruitment has just not been good enough for quite a while now. There's a lot of pressure on this window and on signings like Cunha.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Cunha the player. Reports describe his season at Wolves pretty positively. Very good, I think was the phrase.
Yeah, he definitely had a strong season. The analysis does mention some disciplinary stuff, suspensions.
Right.
But interestingly, it also points out that Wolves showed they could cope without him during those times. They weren't totally reliant, not quite a one-man team.
Still, clearly a quality player. Plays for Brazil, that tells you something.
Definitely talented. But what really jumps out from the source material is his attitude towards this specific move.
His desire to go to United.
Overwhelmingly so, it seems. The reports really stress this point. He really, really wants to come to Manchester United. Views them as, one of the biggest clubs in the world, even without the Champions League draw right now.
Wow. So the badge still carries massive weight for him?
Apparently so. There's even a detail saying he loves Manchester United and playing for them is one of his dreams. Looks like that dream's about to happen for him.
Okay, let's flip it back to Wolves then, because the analysis gives them a lot of praise for how they've navigated all this. Very, very well indeed, I think, is the assessment.
Yeah, you have to hand it to them. Remember, back in January, the situation then, according to reports, was Cunha wasn't happy. His head had been turned by interest elsewhere.
And Wolves were still fighting relegation worries then, weren't they? A tricky spot.
Very tricky. So what did they do? The reports lay out their strategy. They basically said, look, we need you for the rest of the season. They offered him a new deal, improved wages.
To keep him focused.
Exactly. Keep him happy, keep him committed. But critically, they included that release clause. The release clause that you want, as they reportedly put it to him, setting a clear price for a future move.
Smart. So it secured his services for the run-in, helped them stay up, and guaranteed them a big fee if someone came calling later.
Precisely. It locked him in when they needed him, and now this clause gets triggered. They get, as the source says, a very, very good fee.
So from the Wolves side of things, the analysis kind of sums it up as a win-win they engineered. We're happy, you're happy.
That seems to be the perspective outlined, yeah. They got what they needed short-term, and now they're getting very well compensated long-term via a mechanism they themselves put in place. Clever business.
Okay, so let's pull it all together then. We've got the fee, the structure of payments, the financial context at United, the player desperate for the move, Wolves playing it smartly. The immediate take from the analysis is quite straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, the conclusion drawn is that on paper, it looks like a good deal for everyone, right?
Yeah.
At this specific moment, looking at the mechanics of the transfer itself.
And timeline-wise, if the medical goes okay, this could wrap up pretty fast.
This seems likely. The reports mention the window timings, the 1st to the 10th, and suggest things are moving quickly now that permission's granted, could be announced soon.
So, based purely on the sources we've dissected, the agreement itself seems, well, logical for all parties involved right now.
That's the immediate picture, yes. A deal struck, seemingly meeting everyone's current needs or objectives.
But, and there's always a but in football, the analysis doesn't just stop there, does it? It leaves us with a final thought.
It does. It looks beyond the paperwork, beyond the initial everyone seems happy stage.
And poses that crucial question.
Exactly. The analysis concludes by saying something like, it remains to be seen in the long term whether Manchester United turn out to be happy as well.
And that really is the big unknown, isn't it? Will he perform? Will he fit? Will that $62.5 million, however it's paid, ultimately prove to be value for money on the pitch for Manchester United over the coming years?
That's the story we'll be watching unfold. The deal itself seems done, but the real verdict comes later.